eyes distant. He wants to talk. He said he needs to explain, to apologize. And you? Harper asked gently. I don't know, Sophie admitted. Part of me wants to close that chapter forever. But part of me, I owe it to myself to hear him out. Harper reached out, brushing a stray curl behind Sophie's ear. Whatever you decide, I'm here. That night, under a quilt of stars, Harper and Sophie sat side by side on the beach, the firelight flickering across their faces. Sophie's voice trembled as she spoke of regret and mistakes, of the walls she built around her heart. I was scared, Sophie confessed, eyes shimmering with tears. Scared that if I let anyone in, I'd lose myself. But with you, I want to be brave. Harper smiled, pulling her close. You already are. Their fingers intertwined, a silent promise echoing through the crashing waves. The summer was far from over, and the road ahead was uncertain, but for the first time in a long time, hope felt like something they could hold on to. The morning sun spilled golden light over the sleepy town, brushing the rooftops with a soft warmth that promised new beginnings. Harper awoke before Sophie, lying still beneath the light linen sheets, her mind swirling with fragments of yesterday's conversation. Sophie's vulnerability had laid bare a part of herself Harper had only glimpsed before, fractured, raw, and aching for acceptance. Downstairs, the old farmhouse creaked inside as the day stirred awake. Harper wrapped herself in a threadbare cardigan and stepped out onto the porch. The ocean breeze was crisp and salty, carrying the scent of wildflowers and sun-warmed sand. She watched as Sophie's silhouette appeared through the garden gate. A bag slung over one shoulder, a hesitant smile tugging at her lips. Morning, Sophie called softly, her voice carrying a tentative hope. Harper returned the smile, brushing a stray strand of hair from her face. Sleep well? Sophie shrugged, stepping onto the porch. Better than I have in weeks. They shared a quiet moment, the kind that didn't need words to fill the spaces between them. Breakfast was a slow, deliberate ritual, eggs cracked with care, coffee brewed strong, and toast that smelled like home. They sat at the worn kitchen table, hands occasionally brushing, sending sparks of electricity that neither dared to name aloud. Harper wanted to ask about the call from Jason, but the words caught in her throat. Instead, she reached across and squeezed Sophie's hand, anchoring her in the present. So, Harper ventured, what's your plan? Sophie hesitated, tracing the rim of her coffee cup with a finger. I think I'm going to meet him. The admission hung between them like a fragile glass ornament, easily shattered. Harper's heart clenched, but she nodded, because love wasn't about chains, it was about freedom, even when it hurt. Whatever happens, Harper said, voice steady, you won't be alone. The morning stretched into afternoon as they wandered the coastline, the sand warm beneath their feet, the waves lapping rhythmically against the shore. They talked, about dreams deferred and futures uncertain, about the sting of loss and the fragile threads of hope. Sophie's laughter was lighter now, her eyes brighter, as if being near Harper was a balm to old wounds. But beneath the surface, shadows lurked, a letter unopened on Sophie's dresser, a phone buzzing with unread messages, reminders that the past was never far behind. That evening, Sophie stood on the weathered pier, the horizon ablaze with twilight hues. Harper approached silently, wrapping an arm around her waist. I'm scared, Sophie whispered. Voice barely audible over the lapping water. Harper kissed the top of her head, steady and sure. Me too. But sometimes, being scared means we're about to grow. Sophie leaned into her, resting her head against Harper's shoulder as the stars blinked awake above them. We have a choice, Harper said softly. To hold on to what's safe, or to step into the unknown together. Sophie's breath hitched, tears glistening as she nodded. Together. As night settled, they returned to the farmhouse, hands entwined, hearts tentative but beating fiercely. The summer was their chance, not just for love, but for courage, for truth, for a future they could build side by side. The farmhouse settled into a quiet lull as Sophie and Harper moved through the night, their movements slow and deliberate, as if trying to stretch out every moment before reality came crashing back. The old wooden floorboards creaked underfoot, whispering secrets of summers past, of memories woven into the walls. Sophie's fingers trembled slightly as she reached for Harper's hand, the touch grounding her in a way nothing else could. The air between them was thick with unspoken promises and the fragile hope of healing. Harper pulled her closer, their bodies fitting together like pieces of a puzzle long separated. "No matter what tomorrow brings," she whispered, "I'm here." Sophie nodded against her chest, breath hitching with the weight of everything she'd been holding back. "I don't want to lose this. I don't want to lose you." "You won't," Harper promised, voice steady even as her heart pounded. "We fight for it. We fight for us." The night deepened, the stars outside casting a pale glow through the windows. They spoke in hushed tones, sharing fears and dreams, peeling back the layers that had kept them apart for so long. Morning arrived too soon, the soft pink light filtering in like a gentle awakening. Harper was already awake when Sophie slipped quietly from the bed. Pulling out a sweater and jeans, her expression unreadable. "You don't have to do this," Harper said, voice thick with worry. Sophie forced a small smile, but her eyes betrayed her uncertainty. "I have to. For me. For us." The drive to town was heavy with silence, the only sound the hum of the engine and the occasional sigh from Sophie. Harper reached out, brushing a stray lock of hair behind Sophie's ear. "Whatever happens, we'll face it together." At the cafe where Sophie was meeting Jason, Harper waited outside, heart hammering in her chest. She watched Sophie's every move, the nervous fidget, the quick glances toward the door, the way her jaw clenched when Jason appeared. Jason's smile was easy, too easy, like a mask hiding something darker. Sophie's posture stiffened, but there was resolve too, a determination Harper hadn't seen before. Their conversation spilled out in bursts, frustrations, apologies, memories. Harper could see Sophie's struggle to hold her ground, to set boundaries in the tangled web of their past. When Sophie finally emerged, her eyes were red-rimmed but clear. Harper rushed to her side, pulling her into a fierce hug. "How do you feel?" "Stronger," Sophie whispered. "Like maybe I'm finally taking back my story." They drove home in silence, but it was the kind of silence that spoke volumes, a shared understanding that the hardest battles were still ahead, but they wouldn't face them alone. That evening, as twilight melted into night, they sat on the porch steps, the cool breeze carrying the scent of salt and pine. Sophie leaned against Harper, her hand finding Harper's and holding tight. "I'm scared," she admitted, voice barely above a whisper. "So am I," Harper replied. "But sometimes, the scariest things are the most worth fighting for." Their lips met in a gentle promise, a vow to face the unknown, to build something real from the fragments of their past. The summer was no longer just a season, it was a chance. A chance to love, to grow, to rewrite the story they thought was already written. And this time, they'd write it together. The days slipped by like the gentle current of a river, steady, inevitable, carrying Sophie and Harper forward whether they were ready or not. The farmhouse became their sanctuary, a space where time seemed to slow and breathe with them. Morning light poured through the windows, painting golden patterns on the wooden floor as they moved through their routine, small moments layered with quiet affection. Harper brewed coffee, the rich aroma filling the kitchen, while Sophie found comfort in the familiar clink of mugs and soft jazz playing from the old radio. Their conversations were slow to start but deepened with each passing day, stories from childhood, dreams for the future, the raw truths they'd hidden behind walls for too long. One afternoon, they wandered through the fields beyond the farmhouse, wildflowers brushing against their fingertips. The summer heat pressed against their skin, warm and relentless, but in each other's presence, the heat felt like a balm, melting away the scars of old wounds. Sophie stopped and turned to Harper, eyes searching. "Do you ever think about what it would be like if we never had to hide?" Harper smiled softly, brushing a stray hair from Sophie's face. "Every day. I want a world where being us isn't a secret, where love isn't something to be afraid of." Sophie nodded, the ache in her chest easing just a little. "I want that too. But sometimes, it feels like the world is too loud, too harsh." "We'll be louder," Harper said with quiet determination. "Together, we'll drown out the noise." That night, they sat beneath a blanket of stars, the sky vast and infinite above them. Harper's fingers intertwined with Sophie's, steady and sure. I've been thinking about the future, Harper confessed, voice low and hopeful. About what we could build if we gave ourselves permission. Sophie's breath caught. Permission? To love openly, Harper said. To be unapologetically us. Sophie smiled, her heart fluttering with the possibility. I want that too. I'm tired of running, of pretending. They leaned into each other, their whispers blending with the night air, plans made in the dark, promises spoken without fear. But even in the soft glow of hope, shadows lingered. The past had a way of creeping in, through the looks of strangers, the careless words of old friends, the doubts that stirred in Sophie's mind. One afternoon, a message popped up on Sophie's phone, a reminder of what they'd left behind, a name that still held power, Jason. Her fingers trembled as she stared at the screen, the weight of old pain pressing down.